Hey guys, it's Matt and welcome back to Adventurecruiser. I know that my videos have been pretty sporadic, but so is my life. So forgive me for that, but I hope to make up for that today in this video. As some of you know, I just went to Hamvention in Dayton, Ohio this last week, and that was an absolute hoot. I met some really wonderful people. I learned a lot, might have bought a couple of new things that we'll get into in a minute. And I was just blown away by some of the people I met there who watched this show. And it was just, it really warmed my heart. It blessed me richly. So to those of you who reached out and recognized me, I don't know what to say other than thank you. That was really, really special. So moving on from there, I picked up something new. And this may not seem that special to you guys, but to me, it's very special. Stop it. This is the type of radio, not the exact model, but the type of radio that I first had experience with Motorola. It's a Motorola Sabre. Now this one happens to be an Astro Sabre and it's in VHF and I'm really excited to play with it. I haven't even connected it to my computer yet. But the first time I held one of these was at a Civil Air Patrol air show in Chino. And California Wing had sent a box of radios and I picked that thing up and I went, oh my gosh, that is a proper radio. It was balanced, it felt great, it was robust, it was so cool. From that point on, I kind of lusted after the quality radios that I now own and share with you guys. So this was a really, really cool find. Now, I'm really embarrassed to admit that I can't remember the name of the guy that sold this to me, but one of his friends who runs a youth event for radios. It's a bunch of young adults getting together, trying to share their fascination of radios. And if you're interested, go check out his YouTube channel. I'll post a link down below if I can figure out how to do that. But it's Radios with Jackson. And I got to spend some time with them. They were in the booth right next to us. And that group is just hilarious, good fun, good people. Go check out those videos. And if you come across youth who are wanting to get into hobbies like this, I really encourage you to encourage them because they are the future of our radio industry. So let's get on to this subject matter for today's video. I actually had another radio that I was going to put up here, and it may or may not have been an APX Next. And I ran into a guy at Hamvention who really, really loved it, and I really enjoyed our conversation and ended up selling it to him. So I had that for all of 5 days. But these are all basically the same category of radio, and we're going to talk about what are the pros and cons of some of the most popular multi-band public safety radios. On the left, we have the Kenwood VP8000. Next to it, the Workhorse APX8000, the new to the market BKR9000, and the trusted dog, the Harris XL-200. Now, I would say that out of all of these radios, these two are going to be the most popular, and I will probably say some things that offend you about them, and deal with it. You'll be fine. So, bottom line, these are all really great radios, and especially for a radio aficionado, where we don't have a department purchasing these for us, and we get to choose which ones we want in our fleet. The challenges are abounding. You know, what are the features? What are the pros and cons? What do they feel like? What do they look like? How do they stack up to the competition? These are a lot of money. Can we play with them before we buy them? Things like that. So I'm going to do my best to give you the 30,000 foot view of my impressions of these four radios. And I'll put them in order of worst to best on a lot of different features. So first, we're going to talk about these form. Now, there are only two radios that have the display and the speaker on the front, and that is the Kenwood and the Harris. The other two are the BKR9000 and the APX8000. And as you can see, the speaker is on the back, the display is on the front. Now, I was told by somebody who's rather knowledgeable in the subject matter that the reason that these are designed this way, or rather that everybody is following this layout now, is because it has to do with, how to phrase this, purchase order requests by government agencies. They basically say, I need a radio that does this, 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 and this. These are the specifications for the RFQ. And then if a radio doesn't match those, they're excluded from the contract bids from moment one. So that is, in my belief, why a lot of radios are going to the display on the front, speaker on the back. I don't know that to be 100% true. If you do, please leave a comment below. It's just a rumor. But I personally am very partial to having the speaker and the display on the front. And the reason for that is I use my radios not just for communicating on a dispatch channel and sometimes going to attack or something like that. I use my radios more often than not as a scanner. And I like to be able to see very quickly, oh, okay, that's such and such public works agency, you name it, while also having the speaker facing me so that I can actually see what's going on and hear it clearly. Because when the speaker is facing away from you, as it is with the BKR and the APX8000, I just find that the audio is a little bit more muffled. I have really bad hearing. I've abused my ears over the years with power tools, and so that matters to me. So my preference is this configuration. As far as size, the Kenwood is really quite fat. I would say that in overall size, if you were to arrange these, it would probably be something like that, obviously for height, and then that for thickness. I think I'm going the wrong way. I think I said worst is over here, best is over here, but until I say best or worst, let's just run with it, okay? So the Kenwood is by far bigger than the rest. And that's not a bad thing, it's just something to be aware of. The form of these, they all feel pretty good in the hand, but I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed with the plastic on the Harris. It feels like kind of cheap ABS. It's probably not, but it just feels like that. It feels like a black plastic drain line. I'm not a big fan of that. It's also very light compared to the rest of these. I'd say the BKR is the heaviest. In this case, heavy is good. And it goes like that, lightest to heaviest. Then if we talk about the quality of the displays. So all of these have displays on the top. The displays are all easily read. Some have more information on them than others. I think personally my favorite is the Kenwood display, followed by the BKR9000, APX8000, and the Harris. Again, best, worst. I feel like the Kenwood display has a lot of information on it. It's very clear to read. The BKR is really good, except I feel like they could put some more information on that. The APX, it has a lot of information, but it's super small. And when you're programming it, you have to have a second field to enter each channel label for the top display versus the front display. Not a big fan of that. The Harris, it's good. It's not my favorite. It's good. The quality of the front display. Now, I would say that just on the pixel quality, we're not talking about anything else other than the pixel quality and the brightness of the display and the clarity of reading what is written there. I would clearly say it's the BKR9000, without a doubt. Then it's kind of a tie between the Kenwood and the XL-200. The APX8000 is clear to read, but when you compare the 8000 to a 7000, it's like they cheaped out. The 8000 is really pixelated. The APX7000 is a lot cleaner, a lot more resolution. And that really kept me away from the 8000 for a while because I liked the look of the 7000 display. It was crisp, clean, beautiful, sexy. Now, let's talk about the menus and the information presented here. I think running away and the leader of the pack is the BKR9000. The clarity, getting to select your zones, your menus. I mean, that's beautiful. That's clean, it's informative. There's no junk, it's just exceptional. Then going down from there, it's gonna be a tie, I think, between the Kenwood and the APX. Probably the Kenwood beating the APX simply because you have more options. You do have a very clear menu. It's not as easily populated as the BKR9000. The BKR9000 gives you a lot more freedom. The Motorola does not have an actual menu list. It just has menu items across the bottom. And these are dependent on the personality and whether you're an analog, or conventional, or trunking, any of those, they will change what features you have available here. And then this one's clear, but it's cluttered. They put a lot of design into this. This reminds me of a cell phone display from like 2006, okay? When you want to go into a menu, you've got all these itty bitty menu icons at the very top, and you have to cycle through those, and then it has 18 menus for everything. This reminds me of a Sony camera. It's got a lot of options, it's got a lot of features, but holy moly, it's got a lot of layers. And I don't like a lot of layers. I like simplicity. I like clean. I feel like this is the most easily trained interface on any radio. Now, just to test to see if my cousin's watching. This is how he could learn how to program a radio. See, if he can learn it, anybody can learn it. That's all I gotta say. Menu items I kind of addressed already. The BKR9000 by far has the most menu options. You can, in Res, radio editing software, the BKR software, you can say what you want and don't want in here. But you can basically program the entire radio from the front if it's enabled. It's amazing. Really, really spectacular. The Kenwood, I'm running into some issues. Occasionally, these menu items here don't display, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'll have to reset the radio a couple of times, and then I'll get the displays on the bottom. I'm not sure if it's a power saving feature or what, but it does have a really decent menu, though it is not as extensive as this, okay? This is still a really great radio. Again, menu here, I don't like. The menu in the XL-200 is extensive, though confusing. So, best, medium, meh, hate the menu. Buttons in the dark. So, the BKR9000 does have backlighting for the buttons, but the challenge is there are no tactile indents, relief, anything. There's one tactile bar here, but this kind of disappoints me, okay? I cannot tell what menu button or what buttons I'm pushing in the dark unless I'm really paying attention. That's a bummer. So unfortunately, the BKR is going down here for that. I would say the APX does a good job of defining the rows, but they're not super proud, and that's fine. And then probably the XL-200, and then I would say probably the best for tactile feel. And it's gonna be a tie between these two, I think. So, soft, indistinguishable in the dark, somewhat distinguishable, and then very distinguishable in the dark. Audio quality. All of these radios are exceptional radios. I would say though that on trunking, it's probably gonna be these two as the best. Gosh, that's really tough because I can't do trunking on this one right now. You're not gonna be disappointed with any of them. Audio quality is great on all of them. They all have slightly different sounds, but they're all really good. Accessories. So this is kind of where we start parsing out some of the radio differences. So the greatest market for accessories for radios clearly is the APX line of Motorola. This connector that they have on the Motorola and the Bluetooth features, which we'll get into later, have been built out for 15 plus years. Everybody makes something for these guys, and that is really awesome. I love that. Harris, they have kept the same connector on the XL-200, I believe the XL-400, and the earlier XG-100. It's the same connector. So if you have a covert microphone, anything like that, a speaker mic, it works on the newer versions as well. So you don't have to rebuy everything. The Kenwood, it does share a connector with multiple other Kenwood radios. I really like that. BKR is getting a little of a black eye here. Now, BK is a very small company. and they are doing a great job of putting out a radio that's super easy to work with. But because they are a small company and rather limited, they currently only have one accessory that fits this, and that accessory works on the BKR9000 as well as the 5000. The connector has an encrypted chip in it, so I can't just go and create my own accessory. But I have heard that guys are buying the connectors for Motorola's and adding their own accessory upstream to the connector because the chip is in the actual connector. I think that might just be with the R7, Motorola Moto Turbo R7, but that was one workaround, and they did it with, I think, Motorola's blessings. So I'd like to see something like that with BK. I'd like to see BK sell manufacturers their cable and then license or, you know, give their blessing to make accessories for this. Because right now, if you want to connect a Peltor ComTac, if you want to do just a listen-only earbud, any of those things, there really aren't a lot of options for the BKR9000. In fact, there's only the one, and that's the big speaker mic, and then you plug an earbud into that. So that's a bummer. But I think this is a pretty good representation of what goes where. Let's dive into Bluetooth. So all four of these radios have Bluetooth, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have not attempted to connect Bluetooth to either of these two. I have connected Bluetooth to the BKR9000 and the APX8000. I wanted to connect Bluetooth, or talk about Bluetooth, close to the accessories because they matter. I really think APX Motorola's have the market cornered right now on lots of accessory options. So this is a Bluetooth push-to-talk with a covert earpiece that makes you look like you're on a cell phone from 2010. However, that's not always a bad thing. Somebody will look at you and just realize that you're a technological troglodyte and discount you, and not realize that you are actually the security team or who knows what. At least that's my thought. I really like this setup. I think this is probably my favorite when I'm running around, you know, whether it's running security for church or anything like that. It's simple, it's easy, it's clean, and it's unobtrusive. So Motorola's really running away with accessories. They have everything, ComTac, Peltor, everybody makes something for the Motorola, and that's really cool. I have seen some really great things for Harris and Kenwood as well, so these are kind of interchangeable. Again, the BKR9000 really only has one RSM, though I am being told that they're working on other things, and I'm not saying this to criticize them, I'm saying this to encourage them. You got to get some stuff. Let's get some stuff going. I think this can be a powerhouse once they release a few more things. The channel selectors on these are actually rather important to me. So you have a few, you know, main features that are all pretty similar across the board. You have a concentric switch for secure or clear or whatever you want to program it to. It's here on the Harris, here on the Kenwood, and right here on the BKR9000, here on the Motorola, of course. Most of the rest of these features are identical, except that the Harris, the Kenwood, and the BKR9000 all have a 4-position selector switch across the top here. Motorola only has a 3-position, and, you know, big whoop, that doesn't really matter. What really matters to me, though, is the channel selector. And I know I'm in the minority here. I know a lot of guys hate this idea, but hear me out. Motorola, Harris, and Kenwood all have a 16-position selectable switch. Stops there, physical stop there, okay? Same with the Harris, stop, stop. The Kenwood, same thing, I don't have to show you, but I will show you on this one. Stay there. Now, the reason it's bonking is it's giving me digital feedback or audio feedback saying that I have reached the end of my zone. There are no more channels in that zone. The advantage to this is I can program a zone with 100 channels, and I can just roll the knob until I get there. That's very important for federal firefighters and CAL FIRE. They have big zones. Now, can you access larger zones? Yes, you can. Motorola APX has this channel feature, and you can select it from a menu, which I really like. The Harris, I'm still pretty new to, so forgive me if I get this wrong, but you are limited, and it's harder to get to the zones. As it was explained to me, you can get 16 channels per zone, but then you can have extra zones that you access through a side button. Again, I'm a little out of my depth, so forgive me for that. And to be honest, I haven't tried that on the Kenwood. I haven't put any very large ones. So I can't say that these are bad necessarily, but I can say that this one, what I've been told, is more complicated to have more than 16 channels in a zone that you want to access. But to put these in order, I would say it is clearly the BKR9000. This is the command version. I have to say that very clearly. Not all of them have that fully rotating channel selector, but the command version does. Then I like the menus on this, and I've only been told how to do it on this, and I have no experience doing it on this. So we're gonna move that one out. But again, BKR is winning there. Display colors. So I have, again, very little experience with this part. I'm going on hearsay, so if I'm saying this wrong, please let me know. Harris has the ability to have different colors on the top and front display, easily selectable by the owner of the radio in their programming software. I like that. I like that a lot. I think Motorola has that ability as well. I've seen it, but I think it's more closely tied to personalities and the situation within the personality. For instance, you're affiliated with a trunking system, you go out of range, you're gonna get a red background that says out of range. I know there are guys who've done other things with the colors. I've seen it on YouTube, but I haven't done it yet. But I will say it exists, it's just harder. To my knowledge, the BKR9000 does not have any selectable colors within the display, and I could be wrong there too, but I haven't found them. And same with the Kenwood. I have not found any selectable colors here, but again, I'm still pretty new to these. These are more my impressions and not God's honest truth of which radio has which feature. But here's my point. I don't want to read a 500-page manual to figure out how to work these radios. In my opinion, if I can get away with operating the radio, programming the radio, and doing a lot just by intuition, that is a far superior device than one that I have to read a 500-page manual, memorize a bunch of stuff, and then get it to work really well. It makes more sense to me to have something simple, robust, clean, exceptional. To me, that is the beauty of engineering. All right, these are all great radios. I really think you'd be happy with any of them. But now we're gonna get into non-affiliate scanning. And this is really where these radios are set apart, okay? BKR9000 is built on a long legacy of radios that have amazing scanning capabilities, both conventional and non-affiliate trunking scan. The beauty is that this radio, and I have a video out on how to do non-affiliate scan, by selecting a checkbox and obviously not having the system key, the digital key that you would load to it, it says, okay, this is a non-affiliate scan, no problem. Done, easy. The Harris is almost that easy, but I really, really hate the Harris programming software, and I'm gonna talk about that next. Motorola, it is possible to do non-affiliate scanning, but it is complicated and it seems to be risky. And again, my goal here is not to ever cause problems for anybody else. In my understanding, non-affiliate scanning should work the same way as like an SDS-100 scanner as it does on a radio. You are not hearing anything that is not free on the open airwaves. You are not listening to encrypted channels. You are not doing anything other than what you could do with a $200 scanner. So that really frustrates me when guys like Motorola and Kenwood say, no, it is verboten, we will not do that, ever. And that really bothers me. Why? Why would you do that? I'm not asking you to give me stuff that's secure. I'm not asking you to open your kimono and say, okay, here are all of our secrets. No, I'm just asking for a way to enable neighboring departments or aficionados to have the opportunity to listen to clear communications on a trunking system. I have been told it is absolutely not going to happen on a Kenwood. It is possible on a Motorola, but it's tricky. It's doable on the XL-200, and it's simple on the BKR9000. Let's get into the programming software now. So there are obviously 4 different programming suites available, one for each of these radios. Now the BKR9000 uses RES, radio editing software. The Harris XL-200 is using RPM2, radio personality manager. The Motorola APX is using CPS, and the Kenwood is using Armada. Now, in order of best to worst, it's very easily decided in this order. The BKR9000 software, RES, is an incredibly easy bit of software to use and quick to learn. The help menu is exceptional, but I didn't figure out how the help menu worked for quite a while because I don't like reading to figure things out. I just like messing around. And I was able to figure out how to program all the conventional channels I wanted, all the conventional digital channels I wanted, and then after reading a few forums, I figured out how to do non-affiliate scanning on this. Yeah, that took a little bit more work, but that's why I put the video out to explain to you. If I want to convert the code plug from a P800, a P150, anything like that, it is as simple as going through a menu option in RES and saying, I am now switching this to this type of radio. You select a mobile or a portable, and then it gives you 4 or 5 options, and you select that, and there you go, you're done. You can create new code plugs. I'm going to use the term code plug generically. Just run with me. I know it's mission and plan on these. You can create new code plugs, no problem. Whatever you need. It is super easy, super versatile. You can export an Excel file of your trunking talk groups, and then you can go to Radio Reference, download theirs if you have a membership, copy paste, do a little bit of reordering, re-upload it to the radio, and you have thousands of talk groups in minutes. Really, really incredible. I did that for all my zones. I downloaded them, put them in Excel, copy paste, boom, done. There we go. When you're running multiple different radios, this is a far superior programming setup. Kenwood. I really like Armada. I think Armada and BK Res have a lot of similarities. One thing I really like about Armada is that if I make a mistake, it says, oops, you made a mistake, and here's where you go to address it. I think that's brilliant. I really, really like that. I will say it's slightly more complicated than Res. It did take me a little bit of time to figure out what goes where, but all things considered, Armada is very clean, and there's a lot to like about it. CPS is good, but it has so many features and so many options, and you have to create the personalities, then you have to create the zone channel assignment, then you have to go and create a scan list, and then you have to go back up to the personality, and there's just a lot of stuff that unless you really know what you're doing, you can get yourself in trouble really quickly. And yes, it does have a menu feature at the bottom that typically says, oops, there's a problem, you need to address it. You can click on that, and 5 minutes later, it gets you there. This is really slow programming software. And I've got a really fast computer, and that didn't help. This, crazy fast. Right to the radio, done. This, pretty darn fast, almost as fast as that. This, if you're doing 1,000 radios, it's gonna take you a long time. Harris, oh, Harris. If you guys haven't worked with RPM yet, it's awful. Absolutely awful. I'm trying to program conventional channels. Granted, I've only been doing this a couple days on this and not even for that much time each day. But you got to create the mission plan, then you got to create systems, and then there are all these different levels that have very particular vernacular that's only applicable to Harris. I'm frankly about to get rid of the radio. Not really, but I want to, because I think RPM's awful. Absolutely awful bit of software. I think they could have made it a lot better. I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I think the reason they did that is for 2 words: government contract. But what do I know? Last thing I want to talk about is less to do with these radios and more to do with the brands in general. And that is, let's say you're a department that bought radios and then in 5 years, you need to buy new radios for whatever reason, and you want to offload your radios. You want to get some money back into the coffers of your department to recover some of the investment to upgrade to the newest, latest thing. Well, I have experience with secondhand radios from BK. BK Technologies are incredible. As a small-time guy, I've reached out to them on a few occasions for radios that I bought on eBay or from a local surpluser that didn't work. They gave me a flat repair rate. I sent it in. They called, said, yep, we'll do it. Sent it back. Done. Tuned, aligned, repaired. Perfect. Easy. That was an exceptional experience. To me, that's what keeps me, one of the reasons that keeps me with BK Technologies. I think that them willingly dealing with a little guy like me is awesome. Kenwood, I don't really have any experience with the service department of Kenwood. I will say that when I was buying this and I said, okay, well, I'll buy it on the condition that it can do non-affiliate scan, they basically said, no, it's on you. You're on your own. And I wanted it anyway, so I bought it. But other than that, I don't have any experience with their service department. I do have rumors of service issues with these radios. And I'm going to very clearly say these are rumors. These are not my firsthand experiences. I have spoken with people who claim to be the person who is the subject of the story, but basically they say, if you are not the original purchaser of Motorola, you're going to be hassled. And that's a problem. I don't feel like that's a legitimate way to run a business. I understand where they're coming from. They're very security minded, and I appreciate that. But if you have a bill of sale from a department that originally purchased that radio, and they're still going to question you, my question is, who are you to question my integrity when I have a paper trail of proof to show that this is a legitimately surplused radio that I legitimately own? And that's kind of the crux of the matter is there are a lot of guys, and maybe it's all rumor, maybe we can break this rumor, but the rumor is if you were to send a radio that has something wrong with it and you're not a department, you may or may not be getting it back. Or let's say you buy one on eBay, it doesn't have tags. The speculation is that you will not get it back. Again, if you have experience with that, please post it down below. I want to clear this up one way or the other. I would prefer not to run on hearsay. I want proof. I want personal experiences, because if these guys are getting a bad rap, let's vindicate them. Why not? It's the right thing to do. Now, Harris, I've been told that they won't deal with the little guy at all. There are some secondhand guys that will fix them for you, but for the most part, they always look at you and go, why do you have my radio? I'm not going to deal with you. And that's disappointing. I mentioned earlier that I had an APX Next for another 5 days. And one of the challenges that I'm running into with this modern version of radio that's coming in from Motorola is that they are tied to the original purchaser, and there is no physical way to release it from the original purchaser that's easy. I bought a Motorola Ion. A friend came across one, sold it to me, and I thought, oh yeah, I can program that, no problem. I wanted to do a video on it and then sell it. I can't program the thing. I've had it with a Motorola tech for a while. He can't program the thing. I think that we're going down an irreversible slippery slope. And that is, if you are a small department and you can finally afford to buy a couple of radios and you're super excited about them, and then you realize they're $10,000 each, okay. Being a businessman, I'm thinking, okay, the value of that radio is going to decrease to $5,000 in 5 years, just round figures. Hey, I can recover that, and then I can upgrade my radios for only a delta of $5,000. Hey, this is good. I can keep buying radios from, let's just use Motorola in this case. I can buy radios from Motorola. Cool, no problem. And that doesn't seem to be the way that, in my experience, Motorola is moving. I feel like they are locking their systems down so hard that there is no avenue for a department to very easily say, yes, I sold that radio, or for a purchaser to file an application and say, Hi, I bought this radio via eBay. Here's the transaction. I bought this radio via whatever public safety auction. Here's the transaction. Or I bought this at a yard sale. Anything like that. There is no easy way for somebody to appropriate that license. Now, I get it. If it's licensed to, let's say, the San Diego Sheriff's Department, and somebody steals it and then sells it on eBay, sure, Sheriff's Department's probably going to want it back. But what if it's an agency that absolutely did sell it legitimately, and yet there's monkey in the middle who bought it thinking, okay, no problem, and then they can't program it? You see where I'm going? It takes the value down of an existing infrastructure purchase, and it makes me as a business operator less likely to do an upgrade on my radios and buy new radios if I can't offload the old radios. That's the slippery slope I'm seeing everybody going to, and I really don't like it. As a businessman, not as just a radio aficionado, but I think that's like John Deere, not letting you work on your own stuff. That's awful. Shame on them. And shame on anybody who wants to make government agencies spend more money needlessly. That's theft. Plain and simple. That's theft of my tax dollars and your tax dollars too. So as radio aficionados, I try not to get on my hobby horse too much, but I really encourage you guys to put your money where your mouth is. And if there are companies that are doing things that support what you want to do, support them. Buy from guys that appreciate your business. So last thing, questions. I really want to know if there's a way to easily non-affiliate scan with the Kenwood VP8000. And I want to know if there's a super easy way to program the XL-200, because right now I don't like it. Anyways, guys, thank you. Sorry this is such a long one, but these are 4 incredible radios. It is really hard to say, oh, this one's awful, because the reality is just because it's awful in comparison to these, still it's an amazing radio. These are top tier. These are the creme de la creme. So don't take anything that I'm saying about these as an absolute offense. But if you disagree with me, please reach out in the comments. Let's chat about it. I am wanting to learn, and I'm wanting to teach you what I learned. So if I did something wrong, let's fix it. All right, guys, that's all I've got. I will talk to you next time. Take care.